Are God and Allah the same? The question causes more argument and more confusion than almost any other religious dialogue today. Ask it in certain Christian circles and you'll be told absolutely not. Allah is a different God entirely, a God of war, of conquest, of rigid law. Ask it in certain Muslim circles and you'll get a different kind of answer. Allah is the one true God, pure and undivided. The Christian God, split into three persons with a son who dies on the cross, is something else altogether. But here's the thing, both sides are asking the wrong question, and the Catholic Church has a carefully considered answer that cuts through all of it. The Catholic Church's position on this is formally stated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It quotes the Second Vatican Council's Constitution Lumen Gentium, one of the most important documents of the 20th century. Here's what it says, and I want you to listen carefully. The Muslims, together with us, adore one merciful God, mankind's judge on the last day. That is paragraph 841 of the Catechism, not a tweet by some woke theologian or some opinion that can be dismissed just because we disagree with it. If you're a Catholic, that is the teaching. Together with us. That is the church saying the God that Muslims worship and the God that Christians worship is the same God. Now, and this is important, that does not mean Islam and Christianity are saying the same things about God. They're not. The differences are significant, and we will get into that in a moment. But the church is clear. Muslims are not worshipping a different God. They're worshipping the same God with a different, and in the Catholic view, incomplete understanding of who that God is. To understand the whole thing, we have to go back about 4,000 years to a man named Abraham. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all trace themselves to Abraham. According to all three faiths, Abraham first heard the voice of the one God and responded with total obedience. The God who spoke to Abraham is the God who gave Moses the 10 Commandments, the God who sent Jesus, and in Islamic belief, the God who gave the Quran to Muhammad. All three faiths are, in the technical jargon, Abrahamic religions. They share a single root. Now, and again, this is crucial. Saying that the three religions share the same root does not mean that they are equally true, or that they describe God with equal accuracy, or that the differences between them don't matter. The Catholic Church absolutely does not teach that. What it does mean is that all three faiths attempt to describe the same ultimate reality, the one God, the sovereign Lord of all creation, to whom every human being is accountable. For all three, there is one God, the God of Abraham. Now let's get back to the name itself, because this is where a great deal of confusion comes from. Allah sounds foreign to Western Christian ears. It sounds like a specifically Islamic name for a specifically Islamic deity, but it isn't. Arab Christians, Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, all use the word Allah to refer to God. They always have. Allah is simply the Arabic word for God. It is the word Arab Christians used for God centuries before Muhammad was born. It has the same ancient roots as the Hebrew words for God, Al and Elohim, and the Aramaic Elah. If you pick up a Bible printed in Arabic, the Bible used by Christian communities across the Middle East, including the Holy Land, it says Allah on every page where God is mentioned. The word is not Islamic, it's Arabic. Those two things are not the same. Which brings me to a story. In 2016, I was on pilgrimage to the Holy Land, led by Cardinal Stephen Brislin. We had a mass with local Christians on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, in Arabic, so we couldn't understand a word. Then the priest said two words I guarantee that you know: Allahu Akbar. I know what you're thinking, but in a Catholic mass in Jerusalem, those words mean exactly what they always meant. God is great. Because in Arabic, God is Allah, and that was true long before Islam was born in the 7th century. So when a Muslim in Jerusalem says Allah and a Christian in Jerusalem says Allah, they're using the same word. Whether they are pointing to the same reality is a deeper question, and the church's answer, as we have seen, is yes. But for Christianity, there is a line in the sand. The Quran explicitly states that Allah has no son. The idea that God could become human, could be born of a woman, could suffer and die on a cross, Islam regards this not just as wrong, but as a form of blasphemy, a compromise of God's absolute unity and transcendence. Christianity obviously teaches the exact opposite. The Incarnation, God becoming human in Jesus Christ, is a central claim of the faith. Without it, there is no Christianity. So we have two people describing the same object, but describing it very differently. Does that mean they're describing different objects? Imagine two people standing on opposite sides of a mountain. One sees a slope with a forest and a river at the base. The other sees a barren granite face. They're describing the same mountain, but their descriptions are radically different. One of them, from their vantage point, simply cannot see what the other sees. The Catholic Church's position is that Christianity, through Jesus Christ, has seen something about God that Islam has not. That God is the Trinity, that God became flesh, that God's love extends to dying for humanity. Islam, from where it stands, cannot see that, and insists it is not there to be seen. It's the same mountain but two different vantage points, and for Christians, one is more complete than the other. And that's not just abstract theology. The popes of the last few decades have put it into practice, sometimes dramatically so. St. John Paul II made history in 1986 when he invited the leaders of the world's religions, including Muslim leaders, to Assisi to pray together for peace. The venue was no accident. The town of St. Francis, where sought dialogue with the Sultan in a bid for peace and won his respect. John Paul stood alongside all of them. He did not ask them to convert before he would pray in their presence. He drew a careful theological distinction. They could not pray together since their prayers are addressed to God in different ways, but they could be together to pray. In May 2001, he made an historic pilgrimage to Syria and became the first pope in history to enter a mosque. Pope Benedict XVI was equally insistent that genuine dialogue between Christianity and Islam was not only possible but necessary, precisely because they share the same God and the same call to reason. He was the first pope to openly pray inside a mosque in Istanbul. Pope Francis visited the Grand Mosque of Rome, prayed facing Mecca alongside Muslim leaders, and repeatedly called for fraternity between Christians and Muslims. His document, Fratelli Tutti, All Brothers, draws heavily on his friendship with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayyib, one of the most senior figures in Sunni Islam. In 2019, Francis and the Grand Imam co-signed a landmark declaration calling on faith traditions to reject extremism and work together towards global peace. Pope Leo XIV has shown he will continue this respectful dialogue with Islam. Now you may ask, but isn't Islam a violent religion? That is a whole different question, and an important one. We have seen fundamentalist Muslims do terrible things, but here's the thing, we have seen Christians do terrible things. We have seen Jews do terrible things, all in the name of religion. Judging Islam by its terrorists is like judging Christianity by the Ku Klux Klan. Technically possible, but completely unfair. The Catholic Church does not judge a faith of 1.8 billion people by actions of its most violent fringe. We wouldn't want to be judged by ours. The Catechism calls us to approach Muslims with respect, and the popes from John Paul II to Leo XIV have modeled that respect, while never pretending the differences away. So where does this leave us? The Catholic Church's answer to the question, are God and Allah the same, is yes, in the most fundamental sense. But the Christian understanding of who that God is goes further than Islam has seen. There are not two gods. There is one God, Abraham's God, the God before whom every human being will one day stand. But Christianity claims God revealed himself fully and finally in Jesus Christ. And that is a claim Islam does not share and cannot accept. That difference will not disappear through dialogue or goodwill. It is at the center of two great faiths, and it must be acknowledged honestly with mutual respect. There is a line from a theologian wrestling with exactly this question. God is bigger than our understanding of God. Judaism sees part of that mountain. Islam sees part of that mountain. Christianity, in its own faith, sees the mountain whole because it has seen the face of God in Jesus Christ. But none of us in this life sees the whole mountain from every angle. What the church insists on emphatically is that this difference does not make Muslims or Jews the enemies of Christians, or their worship meaningless, or their moral witness irrelevant. They are worshipping the God of Abraham, and so are we. That is a shared foundation of which further understanding and respect can be built. That is what the Catholic Church teaches and expects. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and follow Fowler Tours for more videos. I'll see you next time.